So, in Dionic witchcraft, we have what is known as the triple head goddess, the three major phases of the moon, which represents the trinity of the death, life, and the rebirth. In Wicca, in witchcraft, the triple head goddess is known as the maiden, the mother, and the crone. And the crone is the old, elder witch, like the grandmother. And the old crone is the queen, and the word crone comes from the old god himself, Cronus Saturnel. The triple-head goddess moon symbol is showing us the phases of the moon. From the far left, the Virgin Maiden, the middle is the Mother, and the far right is known as the crone, which is the death or the very end of the moon phase. And this is where the concept of the three witches comes from. So the far right symbol is the crone symbol, but in actuality, when you view the moon, it's the far left. The crone, or the old hag moon, is the phase right before the moon dies to what I call the night of the black moon of death. And from the black chaos of death comes the new virgin maiden moon. And this concept of the young virgin moon is the same exact concept that is expressed in May Day festivals, which always crown the young virgin maiden. Because this is the time of the union of the young virgin maiden and the horned beast. So Kate is playing the role of the virgin white maiden who's going to marry and unite with the horned one, which is the exact same role that Princess Diana played. And where do you think we get the word maiden? The word maiden comes from the fertility of May. And the den is the sacred cave of the female, where she raises her family. And remember I told you about the Rothschild family and the world's elite, how they marry within the family? It's called incest. And this is exactly what William and Kate are doing, because they are actually kissing cousins. So basically, this whole ritual revolves around May Day, the 5th month, like the 5, the pentacle, the same pentacle or pentagram that is used by the Wicca or the witches and the Satanists. And they also got married on the 5th day of the week, which is Friday, known as Frigga's Day or Venus's Day, the goddess of love. So April and May celebrate the floral goddess and Maya goddess, because this is the season and the time when young beautiful flowers bloom. So these ancient pagan rituals were brought to the Hawaiian Islands by the settlers or the colonists. And if you understand the true meaning of the word colonist, you know it means a colon, which is an asshole, which means they royally fucked the Hawaiians. And notice how these young May Day maidens are putting the ring of flowers around the young maiden's head. And this ritual has been embedded into the Hawaiian ritual of giving a lei to the young honeymooners who came here. Yes, the ancient Polynesians of Hawaii did adorn themselves with flowers, but the circle or the May circle flower was brought to Hawaii, and the ritual thereof, and that's exactly why they give you a lei when you come to Hawaii, with a kiss, and notice that it's always a young maiden. And that's exactly why they tell you that May Day is Lei Day in Hawaii. Because placing your head through the sacred female goddess circle is the representation of getting laid. The sacred circle of the female, the sacred cave, or the circle of life. So since ancient times, the flower has always been associated with the female or the goddess, because the beautiful sacred flower represents the sacred female flower, or her vagina. And the plumeria is one of the flowers used to make leis, and notice the 5 petals. And that's why when we're trying to mate with a female, we use flowers. So a maiden is one who services and provides service. Just like a water maid, she provides the sacred water, which is the real true meaning behind a mermaid. Because in real life, there are no mermaids. And of course, the image of the mermaid is that of the evil goddess. And by the way, a maiden is a guillotine that beheads you. So Kate is the maiden exactly as Diana was the maiden, soon to become the mother of the sacred children of the Horned One. So Kate Middleton, or Hecate, the goddess of the crossroads, is the goddess that is known for the color black, the evil side, the dark side. And that's exactly why Kate Elizabeth Middleton always likes to dress in black. In fact, get this, she actually wore black to a wedding.
Color.
And for those of you that think I'm crazy and taking this a little too far to see the connection between Princess Diana the Moon Goddess and Hecate the Moon Goddess in Kate, well, then you need to do a little more research, because the monarchy, or the Queen of the Moon, has a much larger involvement than you'll ever know. So the triple-head moon goddess gives us our three witches that we find in witchcraft, which dates back to the ancient tripod of the Pythia, the Oracle of Delphi, which inspired the famous spear shaker himself, William Shakespeare, and the famous story of Macbeth, the tragedy of Macbeth by William Shakespeare, which came out exactly 400 years ago in April of 1611, which just happens to be the exact year that the authorized King James Bible was made in 1611, which is the 400th anniversary year. We have the legendary story of the three witches, and of course the witches first appear in Act 1:1 or 11. So, is Kate Middleton directly connected with the three witches of Macbeth and Hecate, the goddess of the crossroads, in any way, shape, or form? Well, you better sit down and take a seat, because the witches that were used in Macbeth came from a story called The Witch, or The Witches of Edmonton, a tragic story of the witches, which was used in the tragedy of Macbeth. So would you believe that The Witch was written by a long-distant relative family member of Kate Middleton? That's correct. The three witches in William Shakespeare's Macbeth actually comes from The Witch, written by Thomas Middleton, the long-distant relative of Kate Middleton. And to top it all off, Middleton's chief witch is the 120-year-old goddess of magic, Hecate, or Hecate. And the curse was inspired by the many deaths that were associated with Macbeth. And of course the story has ritual child sacrifice when Hecate hands the baby over to Stanlin and instructs her to boil the baby. And notice the symbol of the Y, the symbol of the witch. Which way, the left-hand path or the right-hand path? The broken path, like in the forest where the horned one is, which looks like the Y with the horns sticking up. And you'll notice the female V is on top of the male phallic pole. And the Y in Hebrew is the Yod, which is the tetragrammaton, the only letter in the Hebrew alphabet that is aloft or floating in the air. Thus, the reason that it denotes the name of God. And the 10th letter in the English alphabet is the J. Notice the title, or the dot, aloft in the air, which is why Jesus, the Son of God, begins with J. And look at the shape, or the symbolism of Jesus' body. It's in the shape of the Y. And of course, he's aloft in the air. And you can see the symbolism of the Y in the sacrifice of Michael Jackson, the son of Jack. And that's why the name of God can be spelled with the J or the Y, Yahweh or Jehovah. And that's why the dot on the I represents the Hebrew or the Phoenician Yod. And it's the same story for Israel. It can be spelled with the I or the Y, just as the word Jesus can be spelled with the I. Like the eye of the Illuminati, the enlightened ones, thus the witch's eye that gives enlightenment. Notice the oval office of the wise dome, and the Illuminati wise old owl is the omen, which is the owl man. And that's why the Illuminati private school of Yale has the symbol of the owl, which is the same owl they make sacrifices to. Like the owl demon goddess of the air, Lilith, or like the owl of Hecate. And the Hebrew Y, or the Yod, is the only letter that floats in the air, and that's why the symbol of the witch, which is the Y, the broom, takes the witch in the air. And notice her hands are holding the phallic pole of L, which is a handle. And by the way, it's called a handle because your hand is on L, the shape of the letter L. And of course, the symbol of the Y of the witch is the symbol of the goddess because it represents the serpent's tongue, the forked tongue of the serpent, the witch's way. Like the ancient priestess of Pythia, the python. So let's take a look at Apollo, the prince, and the python.
Basically, you're looking at what nature is here, shape of a bird almost.